I see Mandy here as well. Jara, I do see you here with the Choctaw Small Business. Amy, Army Brat. Nina, military brat. We wear that title with pride, everybody. We really do. Awesome, Nina. I'm so glad you're back. Well, thank you again to our wonderful Google partners. You see them here if you want to screenshot that to make sure who you reach out to if you have any questions after today's session. All right, everybody. This is who I am. You heard me talk about that a moment ago with me being an Air Force brat. Nina's also an Army brat. We military brats wear that actual title with pride because not everybody gets to be a brat. And I've lived all over the world. And in fact, I've had the great opportunity with a Google team to work with a lot of military spouses and many groups of military spouses and those who are veterans or those who are actually transitioning from military life to civilian life. So I've been able to be of great help to them, as well as I have a real strong passion for small business. I have been remote since 2004. So since before it was cool. All right, when everybody thought you were just at home with a home-based hobby and not really doing business. So when everything happened in 2020, while everybody was freaking out about what a video call is and how to make things accessible, I was already there. In fact, when I used to ask for video calls before, people thought I was weird and they just wanted to have a phone call or have coffee. So now you see a little bit more about who your presenter is. And I've spent a lot of time, because I do deal with international e-commerce, being able to communicate in ways that are easy and accessible to everyone. All right, so I warned you, the first thing I'm doing is I'm going to jump into a video and you may lose audio. Know that I've not left you. I am coming back. Let me see. I do see Bradley here. Zin, awesome. Yeah, remote. Before it was cool. Before it was just something different right back then, Bradley. And I also see Sami. Sami, if I pronounced your name incorrectly, if you could give me the spelling, the phonetic spelling, I'd love it. But she's also, Sami is with SAJ Partnership. All right, wonderful, everybody. Let's go ahead and dive in. Remember, video is coming up first. So hold on, everyone. I'm gonna make a switch.
I'm what's called a coda. My parents were both born deaf. I was not. When people in the hearing world learn that about me, they always want to know more.
You start out your forehead and then go out with your hand.
I've always had one foot in the deaf world and one in the hearing world. I translated a lot for my parents. It made us closer. Now that it's been over a year since we've seen each other in person, communication is more important than ever. Especially with this guy. It's their first time being grandparents, so they don't want to miss a single moment. And I don't either. We can't wait for you to meet him.
All right, if I lost you, I am back now. If you didn't hear it, if you did hear it, then you really heard something. I know that video, anytime I see it, it just tugs at my heartstrings. And personally, Catherine, I do see your messages too, by the way. So personally, just so that you know, you heard me say a moment ago, I'm a military brat. I'm an Air Force brat. So my father's 27 years in the military serving our wonderful country, and thankfully I still have him in my life, but he has almost completely lost his hearing because of what he was doing in the military as a military flight surgeon. He had to do some emergency, what's known as cardiac catheterization, which is radiation based. And because of that, that totally has now deprecated the left side and the right side, the hearing canals. And so he is losing his hearing from the sacrifices he's made for our great country. So I understand what it's like to see somebody go through that, and to also to see them as their trying to just still live a very, very normal life for somebody who's been very, very vibrant and still is at 86. I'm just going to put my earbuds here away so they don't get in my way. So we're going to talk today about how you can make your small business more accessible, really giving the opportunity that it can reach everyone that you can actually serve. If you are tweeting or posting, if you'll use the hashtag grow with Google, so that's hashtag grow with Google, you then will let the Google team know that this matters to you. And I really do want them to create more content like this, because I think this is so very valuable and applicable right away. Now, if you're tweeting or posting, I'm on socials. Find me on any social. The ones I'm most active on are Twitter. So you see my Twitter handle here, as well as my Instagram handle, which is my actual full name. All right. So Julie, I do see you here as well. Perfect. Catherine, I hope you know and heard that I did see that. I did see all your information. So today we're going to be talking about what is accessibility. What does that mean? What are the best practices in you designing any of your online communication, from your site to your socials to your email? And then we'll conclude with physical accessibility, okay? Because a lot of people do talk about that, and I still know that is still a challenge. My husband over the summer had 2 knee surgeries. 2. So, I mean, and then of course we had to travel. We already had travel booked, and I learned instantly what it's like to travel with somebody in a wheelchair in an airport, because if you want to check in the gate over here, and then you'd like the elevator, you can go all the way here and go all the way to the other end of the terminal, come back there and come all the way back. Just give yourself plenty of time, because nothing is easy. And then how you can be inclusive. Now, again, if you need closed captions, you'll just open another window, put this URL in, and the amazing Cassandra there is capturing everything that I'm saying, okay? So what is accessibility? It's really, really important that people with disabilities, even those of us who may not have disabilities that present themselves physically, so we can't see them, but that we can perceive, understand, navigate, and integrate with everything: product, service, tools, solutions. So again, assistive technology can help, but let's talk a little bit more about all that this entails. We do know economically, so not just the good nature giving grace to one person to the other, but even economically, this makes a difference. We can see that there are many people affected by different disabilities. Again, all of us who are sighted may not see that instantly, but that's there. And so we know there's spending power there available. And to you as a small business, you could be overlooking what is considered low-hanging fruit, because you're not even aware of it. So when we build for accessibility, we actually allow people to engage with our information, all right? So for example, I was working with a team last week about their file structure in Google Drive, and they had everything color coded with a very, very dark kind of color. So a dark, dark green, a dark red, a dark, dark blue. So anybody who is colorblind would just see gray, making it virtually impossible for them to keep up with what everybody else was doing. So we don't think about that. It does expand your market. It really does, because as we saw economically in the slide before, there's opportunity there. It also gives them a good experience. Remember what Maya Angelou said: it's not the way people, it's not what you said, it's not what you did, it's how you made people feel. When people are actually integrating and engaging with your online, your email, your social, your website, you in person, do they feel included? And then also it lessens your risk too, because there's so much now out there that we'll see actually businesses, small businesses struggling with if they don't have an awareness. So the first thing we look at is universal design, all right? And when I say universal design, I want you to think for a moment of Googlebot, because a lot of us go and Google things when we need it, right? It's a noun and a verb. But if you think of Googlebot, not just as a bot, but as a person, are you giving a good experience to Googlebot? Because when we're looking at dominating search, which means we want to show up in the first page of a Google search, every search page comes up with 10 organic search results, we want to show up in that first page, then we need to give Googlebot a good experience. That's why you hear a lot about Google talking about helpful content and the helpful content search engine optimization, SEO update, because everything is actually focused on the user. And in fact, if you think of the person instead of the rankings, you will do a whole lot better in what you're doing online. So as you look here, what are your image descriptions? We've all heard and used alt text, and I've been guilty of that as well in Instagram, just copying and pasting whatever I put in a caption into be alt text. But it's so much more than that. If you've ever used a web reader, so what a web reader is an actual tool that reads everything that they are seeing online or actually in front of them, it can be quite disruptive and confusing when you've got a lot of different information and instructions there. You also have color contrast. You heard me talk about that a minute ago. So we've got image descriptions, alt text, color contrast, and you heard me talk about that when just designing and organizing folders. Design techniques. We're going to look at how we format things. Our text links are so key. And really, this is best practice when you're even working with people who come visit in general, regardless of disability. And then, of course, video captions and transcripts. Okay? So as we go through, I'm going to bring a lot of resources to your attention. Let me just move some things out of the way here so I can see my actual screen or the question box fully, because I want to see it fully, because the next thing we're going to do is actually an exercise that will help you in truly understanding what people are looking at and what you need to put in your actual image descriptions and alt text. So the first thing I want you to do is to look at this and describe this image. Share with me your description in the question box, and I'll give you a few minutes to look through that before I go on, okay? I'm just giving you a few minutes while you do that. I'm going to make this question box just a little bit bigger because it's super tiny for me. Oops. Okay, some people said black coffee. Some people said coffee cup. Having a coffee at a cafe. Reflected, time out reflected through a cup. Diner cup of coffee, small cup of coffee with saucer with spoon, a cup of coffee with no cream or sugar, a cup of black coffee in a small white mug on a white saucer with a small silver spoon and the saucer on a black table. A little bit more descriptive there. I do see that. A black coffee in a white cup on a saucer with a spoon, black coffee. All right. Anything else that you see? Let me know in that question box, because this is really, really, really going to help you as we go through. All right. Let me see one more person. I've got picture of white coffee cup filled with black coffee on a saucer and spoon. Oops. How did I move past that? Sorry about that. There we go. There we go. Sorry, it took a while to load with a gradient background. Okay, so we also have black coffee in a white cup with a gradient background from blue to black. All right, excellent. Everybody, your description is not right or wrong, but I'm going to ask you to shift your thinking for a little bit, all right? Because while we all very much hear that content is king, context is queen. And I actually believe it's the other way around, because without context, we are dropped into a place that we have no idea where we're at. We've lost our footing. If you played any gaming at all, so either, third-party MMO, so if you've ever played any of those, you're dropped somewhere and you don't know where you're at. You need context. It's the same thing when we're dropped into a conversation. Let's say our spouse is mid-conversation in their mind figuring things out, and you walk into the kitchen and all of a sudden they tell you something and you're there stunned because you're thinking, I have no context to this. It's the same for somebody who doesn't have the ability to see all the things around or to be able to take in everything around that is giving them context. So for example, this coffee cup, is it on a billboard? Is it in a picture? Is it a mouse pad? Is it a screenshot? What is it? Give the context to somebody who is looking at this so that they can be truly on the same page as you are. For these few moments, I want you to walk in their shoes and really think about, if somebody didn't have this for them, could they know the context of this? Is this a photo? again, or is this a real life showing at a cafe? Is it a diner? Is it on the table of a school and a child is about to knock it over? It's hot, freshly poured coffee. What is it? Because that context without it really is something that is a disservice to people. So it's important for us, those of us who are sighted, to think about what's the context that we just took in that we didn't need any additional support to get. Does that make sense to everybody? All right. Yes, so a lot of dark color, absolutely. There's a lot of that going on too. Think again of context. So as we look at this, without alt text, a screen reader will miss all of this, okay? So alt text is what you actually put in. You hear it asked for all the time whenever you put an image online, and a lot of you are thinking, oh, just about the search, about Google bot. But think for the person who needs it. Are you putting that information in for them so that a screen reader could read it? And again, is it something that makes a lot of good sense? Is it aligned very nicely? Because when we look at screen readers, let me see here. Yeah, the screen readers, I've got, I'm gonna pull up some in a little bit. Let me give that a minute to do that. So you can see what a screen reader actually does. And then of course, the written description can help you with search engine optimization, letting Google bots see that, but your description gives a little more. So your alt text, you only have about 100 characters to actually use for alt text. So remember, a character is a letter, a space, a period. Okay, all of that's a character. You have very limited space for that. But descriptions, you have a whole lot more. So that is where you can build in context, is right here. Okay, so a little bit more about, oh, this is in this restaurant, all meals are served with coffee and it's unlimited coffee, and pictured in front of you is a coffee cup. So see how it's giving them now context of that. And then also these descriptions help sighted people too, because a lot of times we're going a million miles, right? 0 to million, and we're looking at things and multitasking, and we might see something briefly when it can give us a little bit more information. Now we feel helped. And whenever the company, the organization that we're working with can articulate and do things for us and fill those gaps and help us avoid pitfalls, we do see them as trusted businesses that we can work with. Make sense? All right. Paula, you're not able to reply. I'm not sure what you mean. You can put something in there, but there's no chat box in there. So I read it all. So it goes out to space, Paula, there, and I do see it though. Okay, so you are welcome to make comments in there to what I'm saying. Okay, you're welcome to do that. All right, so image descriptions, remember, alt text, short summary, 100 characters. Captions, you can write those longer and put additional information there, especially if you've got complex information. It might be more visible and easy to consume in an actual spreadsheet. Remember what I said about color and contrast too. When we look at colors, see how there's low contrast here. Remember what I said about files that have, you've got a dark gray, a dark green, a dark red, a dark orange. Those are not enough contrast for people to actually be able to read and have those stand out. Where you can check those, let me see here if I can show you this. If I did pull this up, is right here with WebAIM. And I love this site. It's one of the sites that I actually give you in the resource sheet at the end of this this actual session. But it stands for WebAIM, is Web Accessibility in Mind. And you can see that you can actually check the contrast here of things to make it easy for you to make decisions on which colors to have that represent. It also says the same thing with font too, because you're looking for font that is easy to be able to be read. Okay, so you can do that real easy, and this is a free tool through WebAIM. So I'll give you that at the very end. Let's see, it accidentally exit out. Oh, Jordan, I'm so sorry to hear that. Hopefully it has been recording so we can capture what you can catch up with whatever you missed when you get a copy of the recording tomorrow. But I'm so sorry you were booted out. Unfortunately, I have no control over that. I did not intentionally boot you out. Hope everything is working well on your end and you can hear me well. All right. So as we look at color and contrast, that is what we need to keep in mind. And that's a great tool through WebAIM. So beyond color, let's really look exactly what we're doing with design. Look at brightness, okay? You've all seen that when we're looking at our phones and laying in bed and it's too bright and it really is burning into our eyes. We can feel that. Think of those lines as well. Use thick lines. I was just working with a team this morning that is doing a whole mobile redesign. And while it would look beautiful to have the thinner font with a light gray, it's just a nice, beautiful complement to their brand colors. It made it difficult, if not impossible, to read on a mobile. And that's for somebody who's sighted with contact lenses, let alone anybody else who might have any other challenges. Use various patterns and dashed lines, especially when you're denoting different things as well. Again, remember, color doesn't convey. So if you make something just a bright yellow, doesn't mean that's urgent when you've got it next to a really bright green or a bright blue or a bright pink. Remember, think of that contrast and use that web aim sight. You're also going to look at using textures and adding those patterns, and then also having good labels. Really think like somebody who's just been dropped in and doesn't have any context, and what can you do to make it easy for them to be able to speed up and to be able to get to where you're at in the information on your site or your document. So some examples here when we look in color, okay, see how it looks like in grayscale, how that can be very challenging. And if we didn't have things like patterns like here that you see, then those are some of the problems that people can run into when they're trying to make a decision. I was working with somebody, I mean, a very gifted journalist, and but he was having trouble being able to organize things. In fact, it was affecting his work and his relationship with his employer. And one of the things we found was that he is colorblind. And so his employer was using this, you know, all these colors with no patterns. They actually went to a Trello board, which I'm a huge fan of Trello for project management. And Trello, even in their labels, automatically puts different patterns in the background to make it easy and accessible for everyone. So you can see here an actual depiction here graphically in front of you of how you can label elements, how you can do dash lines. Great, Jordan, I'm glad it's all working for you. How you can decide on the line dash type and the color and even the thickness there to make a difference. So those things will stand out much more than color to everybody. The same thing with formatting your headers and your footers. When you look here at your headers and footers, take a good look at that. If you're using Google Docs, which works just like Microsoft Word, it already outlines your documents this way, so it sets it up for you. But now it can help emphasize if this is important. So this is a section that we're talking about where there may be 3 components of how you can make something easily accessible. Let's say the topic is how to bake bread. So if you put here the heading is ingredients, now you'll know that everything, all the 12 things listed under there tie into the ingredients. And then the next heading could be preparation, right? And now we go into the actual cooking, the actual structure of what you need to do next. So again, that assistive technology can actually read that out to them, and now they're able to follow. Anybody who needs this is able to follow along and know exactly what area is covering, instead of it just being a jumbled mix of text, right? And really confusing audio. I encourage you to start practicing and applying this right away. And one of the ways that you can do that is just with your email. I see too many people do 2 things. Normally this right at the very bottom, use this link for free training. So you're actually going to visit that link for free training to grow your skills. Some people will say, visit this link for free training. And then at the end, there's a bunch of gibberish there. You know, HTTPS, it's the link. Understand that if a reader, a web reader is reading that, how distracting and horrible it can be to have it read out https://doc.com dash all the gibberish AEFG exclamation mark. That is horrible compared to now going here and saying, instead of this link is also very vague too, saying visit the Grow with Google homepage. So this link, what is the link to? Grow with Google homepage. Now as a reader, an actual web reader that a lot of people have using, the screen reader, which you can use from your Chrome store. If you go into Google Chrome, you can use that for free. There's a lot of free web readers out there, and you can have it read it out and say, visit the Grow with Google homepage for free training, tools, and resources to help you grow your skills, career, or business. You see how much cleaner that is, that you don't get mixed in that jumble mess that they may have to or may get into with a web reader. All right, so I encourage you to look at your website or go visit any website. Download that free reader and actually use it and install it into your Google Chrome browser and listen. Listen to what somebody is having to deal with all the different page breaks and emojis and all of the graphics that get in the way of communication for somebody who's not sighted. All right, so there's lots of tools that actually caption and actually do transcripts. There's automatic that's done. We've seen that even on Instagram. You can set that up with captions. It's not always correct, right? Because we all have different accents and draws and different speed levels. You can also use automatic transcription, sorry, or you can create your own. You use Rev or Subly to actually create your own, or you can have a vendor create it for you. So even more so, like I said, those two vendors that I just mentioned, or even having a team member who is doing that, physically doing the transcript for you. So one of the tools you may not be aware of is that YouTube has automatic captioning, which I like, because now you can go in here, you can auto translate, and you can have those closed captions come on. I was in, as I mentioned a moment ago, when I met the head of the Alamona Chamber of Commerce, was at ACCE, which is the Association of Chamber of Commerce Executives, and it was their national annual conference in Indianapolis in June, and we had a booth going on. Well, when you have a booth going on, there's all this noise and hype and music and hooping and hollering and contests going on that a lot of times people can't see or hear at all what the video is actually saying in the booth. So we just turned the closed caption on and turned the audio off, because people could read as they were looking or waiting for somebody who was having conversation, or they were just standing and trying to decide what to do next. They could see that present. Know also, with your online videos, that 65% of us have volume turned off on this. We just don't want things blaring out at different volume levels, so we have it turned off, and we're not even drawn in unless there's any captions. If it's somebody just talking like this, I move on. So understand that it helps even people who don't have any disabilities. What's nice also is you can pick up the transcript here from YouTube and have the transcript available too. Vimeo also has the same kind of functionality. So Vimeo, if you're not aware of Vimeo, it also is a web recording. So it records, it's a place to host your videos. You can record videos with your face in front of it or on your screen, or a combination of both. You can do that, and it does have auto captioning there as well if that's your tool of choice. So YouTube is free. Vimeo has a free portion or a free version, as well as a paid version that you can use. Also, there is automatic captioning in TEDx. So if you ever look at TEDx, you can choose right here. You see that little keyboard at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. You can choose to have subtitles, and that subtitle will actually play if somebody selects that, and you can even choose the language that you want that to show up with. Now, even TikTok knows this. So TikTok has that built in. You know, we're such a visual society now that even as we're talking to a screen, if it's not captured, people realize that everybody, you know, we have it turned off on our mobile, right? So we have volume turned off. They need to be able to have some way for people to draw them in, to entice them, or for those who don't have as much ability as they to be able to hear, that they can hear this and make it as seamless and comfortable an experience for them as possible. All right. Now, your auto transcript, remember what I said about YouTube, that you can go here to the 3 dots in YouTube. Just use that 3 dots in any of the Google tools. You'll find a whole world will open up for you, but you can see here, you can open the transcript, and when you do that, you have all of that accessible to you. You can copy and paste it and use it as well, okay? Now, the only downfall that people do also need to be aware of when they're sharing documents to online are PDFs. And I'm a big fan of PDFs. So PDF stands for Portable Document Format. It preserves the integrity of the way something looks. So the way you laid it out, your line breaks, your paragraph breaks, all of that is just exactly how you had it, instead of it going, let's say you use Microsoft Word or Google Docs, and it adjusts to their margins. All of a sudden now you've got weird page breaks or spacing where you didn't intend it to be. So a lot of people will use it this way, but understand it's difficult for readers to read that because it flattens everything and it looks like just an image. And without alt text or descriptions, readers cannot actually read what a photo is. So it makes it very hard to interpret. Now, that is everything for your online accessibility. Now, again, you heard me talk about WebAIM. Again, that's accessibility with everybody in mind. All right, so let me bring that up here, their website. Again, if you want to take a screenshot of that, you'll get it in the actual slide deck when you get a copy of the slide deck. In fact, if you want a copy of the slide deck, comment now that you want a copy, and I'll send that with the recording tomorrow. But you'll see there's a lot of free accessibility training here. There's a document accessibility. So this is all free. This is a nonprofit organization, and you can take a look at how you can keep things accessible. What I like here is they actually do share different screen readers that you can use and actually add to your Chrome extension or to any browser that you use. And what's nice is then you can actually hear it read out, and it's pretty daunting when you hear it read out. The first time I heard one read out, I was amazed at paragraphs, periods, and white space, how that actually became problematic for somebody to consume information, right? It was very, very disruptive. All right. Good, good, good. Yes, everybody, that's the right place. You know, even though it went off into cyberspace, you're in the right place, because I will send you a copy of today's slides to the email that you registered with. So you don't have to put your email there, but to the email that you registered with. So the best practices when you're sending email is be mindful of logical reading order. The jumping back and forth makes it really, really hard. Acronyms, whoo, you know, they're hard enough. But especially since there's new ones and longer ones every day. But do know that if we need to spell that out, especially for somebody if we don't know what their needs are. Also think, for example, that you want to use a 1-column layout. You know, the 2 or 3 columns becomes really, really nasty for a reader. Make that make it purposeful what your hyperlink is actually connected to, so what you're linking to. You saw me bring that up a moment ago. And I'm sorry, I was distracted a moment because I wanted to show you this before I go into about the emojis, but I did want to show you this. If you're in your Google account, so this is a free Gmail account that we trainers use. If you have a email account, I'm not trying to make you change to Gmail, but this is free, so you don't have to get the workspace or the paid version, but you can get a free Google account. So let's say you're in your free Gmail account, you'll go up here to the app icon right there at the top right hand corner. If you're in a free Google account, so you're not going to have Gmail, you have your own email, but you can go here, you see that app keypad right there at the very top corner. Click on the app keypad and bring up Google Drive, so you'll know where these tools are actually at. So Google Drive is the primary colored triangle icon that you see, and then click New. You're going to click Google Docs, which you heard me explain works just like Word, and you're going to bring up a blank document. So now while you're in Google Docs, and I'll make this a little bit bigger because I'm broadcasting, you're going to go into Tools, and you're going to go into Voice Typing. And when you do this, now you can click to speak and see whether or not your Southern drawl, your speed, anything is getting in the way of you being able to be heard by somebody that you could be having a video call with, that you could be doing a video for, that you could be meeting with online, or presenting actually something that is prepared for them. So instructional videos, okay? This will help you see exactly what is heard by the machine. And this is really important because it helps us, even as a trainer, I do this quite often, it helps me slow down. Even though I get passionate, I get fast. It also lets me know my volume level of things are being picked up. Okay, you don't have to click it every time you speak. You can just click here. I won't do it right now since we're broadcasting, but you can click here. The mic goes red. You'll see all of this starting to type in. You can adjust the size of the font any size that you want, or if you like another font better than one, you could do that, and you can click to speak and then click it off when you're done. Make sense? Okay, and remember what I said about emojis. Emojis can also be tough for a reader to read, especially, you know, like I talked about a screen reader. So the best practice is you do want to have this kind of ratio for your text to image. So you see me highlighting here the 60-40 text, and you also want to avoid overusing links, because overusing links brings them away. And if they're so close together, even those of us with no challenges, our big fat fingers have a hard time clicking on links that are right next to each other, okay? You want to make sure your font size doesn't get too tiny. I saw somebody really trying to impress their work team, and so they put a document on one page because they thought that was going to be impressive to just say it's a one sheet. But the problem was everything was a 10-point font. And not only that, they were using Open Sans, which is a very thin font. So it made it very challenging for even the best of us without any reading glasses or anything to read. So maintain good contrast. Again, avoid those visual cues. Again, look at those, look at your colors, really spend some time on the contrast, and include closed captioning on all your videos. I highly encourage you to do this. because it just really opens up a whole area of the population, even those who are not disabled, to be able to consume your information. Now, if somebody has a physical disability or they need physical accessibility, again, these are some things that we see in practice, but for your small business, really look at obstacles. When you have a big wheelchair, I'm speaking from experience, right? Because I just did this in June, and I should have remembered this because my son actually broke his leg, but that was many moons ago, right? It was when he was a teenager and he was just trying to get around in crutches, and that was almost impossible, trying to get him up from a wheelchair up to a Suburban without a ramp at the hospital. Try to imagine doing that. You as somebody who is about 5 foot and your son is about 6 foot and you're trying to drag them up into a Suburban without hurting them. So think about those physical spaces. I was just, as I said, in the actual airport a month ago with my husband, who's now still in wheelchair, but now one leg is at least healed. We're just working on the other one and still trying to just navigate around all the trash cans and all the little poles and ribbons that they put up. Virtually impossible. I'd have to pick him up in a wheelchair and be able to scoot him to be able to make some of the turns that they needed. Confirm that access. So actually walk it through and really truly walk in their shoes. Know what the ADA, American with Disabilities Act regulations are, and make sure that you're applying that. Again, service animals, a lot of people do have certain service animals who can help support them in being able to see and navigate spaces. And then let people know that you are working on your accessibility. You can always explain to them, and people do give you a lot of grace, that you're working very hard at this, that you are aware of it. You're not experts. Just like when I started this entire webinar, I'm not an expert, but I'm working hard and becoming more aware of this, and actually putting into play best practices and testing those best practices too. Be inclusive. Okay, that's why we're doing everything that we're doing here, especially that's why Cassandra's here doing even all the cart captions. So we're not making any assumptions. The hardest part for me when as my father started losing his hearing, which has only been in the last 3 years, just so you know, it's only been in the last 3 years. So it's very, very fresh to me. Is that we decided to fly to go see my sister for the July 4th holiday, and we went into the airplane and he had to wait. He has trouble walking, so he couldn't stand for very long, but he doesn't have a wheelchair, so he didn't have a wheelchair, but they made him wait till somebody who could do sign language could help him. But I explained to them, I don't need somebody with sign language. He has hearing aids, but he's still hearing impaired. Even with the aids, they are not replicating the ear canal very well, so he's getting too much echo there, and he just needs time. He doesn't need somebody, but they made him wait. And then even after they made him wait, every conversation with him was not just that they were trying to be loud, but they slowed everything down to the point where it was like, do you understand what I'm saying? The man is not stupid. He's a cardiac surgeon, a flight surgeon, and a decorated military veteran. So, he's not an idiot, but he just can't hear you and he needs time. None of the other stuff. So again, do not make any assumptions. Speak normally, because you don't want to make it sound like we are speaking down to anyone. And if you aren't sure, just ask. There's nothing wrong with asking. When I did have my husband, so again, going back to what happened in the summer, because we had to go through security different ways, they took him through one area, I went through the other. We had all agreed we would meet at the end, but the person that was walking him actually decided to bring him to the gate. So now I can't find the man. And, of course, he's not responding to his phone. He probably had the actual sound off. But they parked him behind barriers of the actual gate agent desk. So I couldn't even see him behind there. I'm searching for this man, going crazy. And then finally I see this foot peeking out, and I can see him because I stand all but 5 foot, that's it. So I can't see over many things, but I'm looking around it to see if I could find him. So just understand that if you're not sure, ask. So that's what I started doing. I asked, hey, where do they bring people who are wheelchair bound, and where do they park them? And that's how I was able to find them a lot faster our second trip through. And also respect people in their personal space. Just because they are, have crutches or wheelchair doesn't mean we come up and touch them. It doesn't mean we come up and hug them. All of that is a part of their space. We don't come pat them on the head and say, oh, I'm sorry you're dealing with that. You had knee surgery. We don't do any of that. Again, we remember they are people first, above and beyond, okay? So here's what I mentioned when I said the slide that has all the access, and you really do want a copy of today's slide deck, because when you get the slides, you can click on each of these. I know you'll screenshot that right now, so I'll get that little point, that little red dot out of the way. If you want to screenshot that, so you can Google these and find all of them, but when you get a copy of today's slides, you can just click on this and it'll take you there, which they are great tools here. One that I've shown you here, but you definitely want to try out where like creating and verifying PDF accessibility. You want to try that out. You want to try out web readers, because I don't think you really understand until you've heard a web reader in action. Now, if you want to take this one step further, you might want to go to this URL and truly understand UX design. So what UX means is user experience. And that means that you put everything out there that makes it easy for a user to be able to navigate and consume the information that you have available online. This will make you an expert on this. These certificates are free. You can apply for a scholarship as long as you are associated with a business with an EIN number, you will get it. But do keep that in mind. You have this available to you. If not, I believe it's like $39 a month, but you might just want to focus on maybe Googling UX design to have a better understanding, or using the tools like I showed you here, all of these websites, okay? Again, I want to say thank you to our wonderful Google partners who made sure this is available to you. I'm excited to see so many people interested in this topic, because when we first launched it, we were worried that people wouldn't really understand that this includes digital accessibility, and people don't think about that. But with so many of us using these mobile devices, 74% of us go here first when we want to know, go, do, or buy, and knowing that people are more connected this way, and especially after we saw the video at the very beginning, it's important for us that we have and make it easy for us, for people to consume the information and to find out what they need. So the Oklahoma SBDC, please reach out to Cindy. The Dallas Independent School District, MWBE, reach out to Stephanie. She'll let you know who on her team you need to talk to or work with. The Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma SBDC, reach out to Gina. Kansas SBDC, Allison, I saw you in here, absolutely. So please reach out to her. And then the Alamo Chamber of Commerce, reach out to Savannah. All right. Now I've covered quite a bit, right? And I want to make sure if you have any questions that you'll ask those questions, but if you want to screenshot this so you'll know who to ask, feel free to reach out to your local Google partner to help and support you. If you want to come to additional webinars that I do, just ask them. They can bring me back. They're really the ones who can do this better and more efficiently to really know what time you're available and what you need. If you want to participate in any of the other webinars that I do, which are free, you can go to this URL. But now it's question time, and as promised, I told you I would